Well, somehow we managed to pick the worst anchorage pretty much here. Well, except for when the thunderstorm came through last night, we did get partial shelter. That was good, so we didn't get a lot of fetch from that. We got plenty of wind, but not too much fetch, which was good. But then, once the tide turned, we rolled our guts out. Oh, it was a horrific night. You know, I would have moved, but it was pitch black. You know, there was no moon at all, totally dark. Just nowhere to go. So we just rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled all night. Oh, it's horrible. We are on the move from Palau Kentar. Can we check that? Yep, Kentar Island, Palau Kentar. We're heading down south again, still down towards the southern end of Lingeh. It's possible that we have a little bit more east in the wind today, which may allow us to lay Bangka Island in one tack. If that's the case, we're going to keep going. We won't stop at the bottom end of Lingeh. And to be honest, with those thunderstorms last 3 nights in a row, I'm a little dubious about anchoring at the bottom end of Lingeh, just because it's a little more exposed than I would normally like. Hey, but I haven't turned out to be a great judge of anchorages anyway over the last 2 days. So, yeah. So here's the plan. We've just come out of Kentar Island. Wind is coming out of the southeast. You would think in here we would not get any swell, but it managed to wrap around and come down inside the anchorage in there. It was awful. Anyway, we're heading southeast. Yeah, we're going to head down past this little island chain here. Once we get to that point, we can bear away just a little bit and come around the bottom end of Lingeh down there, where there is an anchorage right about here, which may give us some protection from the southeast. Not sure. If not, we could probably slide across to this island here and maybe get a little bit of shelter there. I suspect it's not a great anchorage. But with the current wind, our ultimate destination would be Bangka Island down here. So we need a little bit more east in that wind to make that tack, or we come down here and then come across an 80-mile trip, sorry, a 90-mile trip into a 120, 130-mile trip. But that's sailing and that's the way it goes, I guess. We'll see. I'm very undecided at the moment what we're going to do. And you know, that thunderstorm slash rain band that came through last night would not have been pleasant at sea last night because it's pitch black at the moment. There's no moon, there's nothing. It's just totally dark. You wouldn't have seen that coming. It would have come belting down, and then you wouldn't have known how long it was going to last, and it would have set up a nasty sea. It would have been horrible. So this morning we are motoring with the main up, just to get around first of the islands, so we can bear away a little bit, and then I'm hoping that we can start sailing it. Well, we will be sailing after that. Whether we go 25 miles or 125, we'll see how we go. There's the equator, and we're in the southern hemisphere again, back in the same half of Australia that Australia is in, same half of the world that Australia is in. Australia and us are in the same part of the world finally after such a long time. It kind of feels good, but man, we got a long way to go. Going to celebrate too early. We've still got 4,000 odd miles to go to get back to Whitsundays, but anyway, we're just taking 1 mile, 1 day at a time, and sure as eggs we'll get there. A bit of a shout out there to Akaroa 3. We're just passing at the bottom end of Lingeh Island. He's got a nice boat. He's just cracking along even in these conditions. We're not doing anything like that. Just about to turn the engine off and we're making 4 knots. He's making about 6.5. But anyway, g'day there Akaroa 3, thanks for the chat on the radio. And there's Akaroa's buddy boat, Inky Blue. And he's doing good speed as well. Gotta love these cats on a broad reach. Doing quite nicely. Well, that's the southern tip of Lingeh Island. the last potential anchorage we have until Bangka Island, which is about 90 miles, and Belitung 212 miles thereabouts. So we're getting the forecast breeze, maybe just a little bit less than was forecast, but the direction's not bad. It's pretty much an easterly breeze, which is allowing us to lay Bangka, and we could probably lay Belitung as well. I may alter course slightly to lay that one. And it's giving us, you know, well, up until a few minutes ago, probably 4.5 knots, but now we're getting about 5.5 over the ground. I think we've been fighting the tide a little bit too, so as we move further out into the, you know, the open water here, hopefully we'll get a little less tide against us. But we've made the decision to keep going and not to stop here for the night, even though we're both shattered. We rolled our guts out last night and the night before. But this forecast wind is not likely to stay for more than 24 hours, so we've got an opportunity to make 80, 90 miles, maybe 100 miles with this wind for free, so we're crazy if we don't take it. Well, the wind finally filled in. We had started the day with about 8 knots, 9 knots of wind, which allowed us to produce, you know, 4 knots, 4.5 maybe. But as the day's worn on, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon now, we've found about 12 knots of wind right on a beam reach. So I've got everything eased out a fair bit, a lot of belly in the sails to take advantage of that. We're making just over 6 knots over the ground, which is really nice. This wind was forecast for probably 5 or 6 days, and I was trying to get to that jump off point in time for today. It's only supposed to last today and maybe part of tonight, and then after that it's gone. It was our opportunity to make some miles down towards Bangka and Belitung without having to use the engine if we were in place and the wind came good, which it looks like it did. So we're just passage making at the moment. Tarn's asleep. I've been not napping, but just chilling out in the cockpit. Did a bit of reading. You know, it's slow days when you're doing this, but it's a nice way to go. It's a very nice way to go. Couldn't be more grateful to the wind gods for what they've given us today. So we're moving towards sunset on this passage. We've still got a bit over 50 nautical miles to go to Bangka. The wind has been very kind to us today. We're still getting 10 to 13 knots on a ridge, which has allowed us to do more at the moment. I've got 12 knots wind, I'm doing 6.5 knots. It's really nice, great sailing, fairly flat water, but certainly on long passages offshore and definitely at night, we use harnesses and jack lines. So just give you an idea of how we do that. So Tarn's just got set up here now. Tarn's got her little harness on there, and we have 2 running lines. So this one here goes on a jack stay that's free to run all the way to the bow of the boat. So if we need to go forward, all you need to do is clip onto this one, onto there. Yep. That's it. And we always lock it.
Lock already.
Yeah, lock here. So, and then she can go forward. We've also got a second one here, which is the one we use most of the time, just locked onto a grab rail. So when you're sitting here in the cockpit, you just clip onto this one, and this is the one that you use. we have 2 on the port side, the starboard side, and 2 on the port side here. So if we're both sitting together, we can both clip on the same side, or if we need to go forward, we can do it on either side of the boat. So that's our rig setup. I'm about to put my harness on now, because you can't, you know, say something and then do something else. So I'm going to put my harness on. We're making just under 7 knots with 14 knots of wind. I hope it maintains through the night. At this stage I don't see any threat of thunderstorms. For the last 3 nights there has been thunderstorms, so I don't know. Fingers crossed.
Already have friends get caught tonight.
Well, good morning, Starlight followers. It's been a long night. A long night. I've been awake all night. So we started off when we left you last on a port tack reach. We had really good wind and the boat was cracking along. About 20 miles north of Bangka Island. The wind swung 90 degrees, came out of the south and then dropped away, and spent the entire night tacking around the northern end of Bangka Island with traffic just going everywhere. And daylight is just breaking now, and I'm looking forward to getting a bit of sleep. I think I'm going to need it. Tarn's going to take over in a little while now that she can see, and we've been surrounded by thunderstorms all night too, which is a bit disconcerting. But they seem to have finished up now that the sun's just broken the horizon. Anyway, that's the night. We've got about 115 nautical miles to go to Belitung, and although we could have stopped at Bangka, the northern side of Bangka, we would have had to make that approach in the dark, and Bangka is not very well charted at all, so I really just didn't consider that one to be a safe option. So we're continuing on. We're just ghosting along now. We've got about 8 knots of wind. I'm making 3.5 over the ground. I think I'm fighting a bit of current here, in that now that we've just sort of started to head down, what is it, the eastern side of Bangka Island and into the strait between Bangka and Belitung. Anyway, I need to get some Zeds. One thing about making passage here in the tropics is there ain't a lot of wind. You know, if you do get a breeze, a steady breeze for a while, you've done well, especially up near the equator where we are. But gee, the storms, you know, like this one I think is going to slide by us. But they're really focused and small, but they can really pack a punch. This one looks like it's going to skip down our starboard side and probably not affect us too much. We had about 120 120 to 130 miles to cover from Bangka Island to Belitung. We're now about just under 50 miles out of Belitung, and we're going to have to anchor out of Belitung, just outside on the northern shore where everyone goes. We're going to anchor just outside without going right in amongst all the coral. Should find about 12 metres of water, and it may not be perfect, but it'll be an anchorage for tonight. We're going to get there around about midnight, sometime around there, between 11 and 1 I think. So we'll just, and there'll be no moon, it'll be pitch black. Hopefully there'll be no thunderstorms, but probably there will be. And we'll just anchor, and in the morning go on in and pick our way through the coral and get a better spot. Don't know if you can make out all those fishing boats there. I managed to get them all on my port side, which was starboard side, I'm sorry. Which makes it a little easier to manage. Holy moly, that is a lot. We arrived in Belitung here about 1 AM in the morning. Snuck our way in where I still felt we could reach in confidence, and dropped the pick in about 10 metres of water, fair way out from where the main anchorage normally is. Last time we came, this area was full of boats. That's the eastern side of the anchorage. But for some reason, we've arrived here today and there's not a single yacht here. They're all on the western anchorage on the other side. We didn't see them as we came in due to, you know, being dark and tide. So we're going to move and go over there. I think this anchorage is okay, but maybe they know something I don't. So, you know, time to be one of the sheep, I think. So we're going to head over there, drop the pick over there, and spend today resting and trying to get SIM cards. Again, we're anchored on the western anchorage at Belitung. It's really nice in here, but there wasn't a lot of room, so we're very close to a sandbank behind us. But anyway, all good. We're at about 6 metres. I can see the bottom, crystal clear water. Really pretty here, very beautiful. But I want to look at the prop and see if I can find a nipple for greasing the internals of the feathering prop, because I think that's what it needs. So I'm going to have a bit of a look, a bit of a clean, and a bit of a sweep.